Well, on the opposite, we have a movie that you only need to see once because it's just that fantastic. And that would be the 1981 slasher classic, The Boning, which is pretty much this one prank goes wrong as pranks often do in movies. And this one guy gets horribly boned and he wants revenge on those who pretty much ruined his life. Not that he had a particularly good life to begin with, but that's probably beside the point. So this guy named Krabs, he is, basically going out and fucking people up with a pair of garden shears. And it's since this partial effects were obviously, pretty good, pretty much, well, mainly because Tom Savini did them. But so, given the partial effects and the very classic feel, it takes a little while for the killings to start. You get a lot of like camp shenanigans, like these kids either flirting with each other, just doing things that kids at camp, I guess, did back in the 80s. I don't know. I've never been to camp, so I can't say. So it takes a little to get going, but once things do get going, I think it's a pretty satisfying time. And it's not going to be like the best slasher movie of the 80s, but I do think it's a pretty decent one. So, has this been like a long time favorite of those, or is this just one you have seen that often?
I've seen it a few times. I never really heard of it until after the, let's just say, the raft scene made its rounds on the internet back in the early 2000s or early to mid 2000s. And so obviously after that point I'd seen it and seen it quite a few times since. I mean, it is, in terms of 80s slashers, yeah, it's an enjoyable 80s slasher. I do feel, outside of the initial viewing of the raft scene, which, look, I mean, that's the scene that really everyone points to when they talk about this movie, and I mean, it's a good scene, and I feel that people tend to overrate this movie a little bit just based on that scene. And when I say overrate, I'm not saying, well, it's not a good movie. It's still an enjoyable movie. It's just, I feel like outside of that scene, there's nothing all that special about the movie.
Yeah, I just think it's like you said, it's not like a partial movie by any means, but it's at least like at worst, it's like an average early 80s slasher. And I mean, which average early 80s slasher wasn't at least a 9 out of 10? So I mean, it's like it's not a great movie, but hey, it's still a slasher from one of the best time periods of slasher movies. And like I said, it has a classic feel. I mean, I even enjoy this one probably a bit more than Sleepaway Camp. So I don't know, it just has a, to me, it has like a very classic feel that I enjoy seeing, that you can probably get from most early Friday the 13th movies too, or any, I guess you could say, camp-based slasher movie from the time period. But I don't know, to me it has a good feeling to it, pretty interesting antagonist. I do enjoy how we don't see his face until like the very end, and that sort of needless flashback. Oh hey, this is the same kid who was in on the prank. I mean, I can't imagine that came as a big surprise to a lot of people. Maybe newer movies have spoiled that twist for me.
Hmm. Just one other thing that I just keep thinking about whenever I do see that raft scene is that it makes me wonder why all four of them just sat on the raft waiting to be killed, because he kills them one by one basically. Um, like, why they could just jump in the water? I'm not one.
Well, I
I'm not one to, dissect a scene and say, this is what I would have done. But I just feel like there was more than enough time for someone to, jump off.
or maybe they thought that it just wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
Maybe they've just been so demoralized with life that they just let you die at like 15 years old.
Yeah.
Actually, a scene that I really enjoy, and it's a scene that I guess I don't remember from last time I saw the movie. But
Enjoying the hooker scene.
well, that scene almost feels out of place, but I got, it obviously has its meaning for the movie. And by the way, that was not a hook I would particularly want to take time with, but That's just my personal taste. The scene when this one Dick, I think his name's Glazer, just pushes this one kid into the water. The kid himself can't swim. So like he does this in front of like a sort of a raft thing full of teenage girls. I think he wants to get with one of them. So he just pushes this kid who can't swim in the water, and it's like, you know, he can't swim, right? And it's like, well, then save him or he'll drown. And my favorite thing about this is, I guess he thinks the girls are going to be impressed with him because he just swims over and it's like, hey, I almost killed someone. Look at me. like, like, I don't know what type of macho mindset. Like, hey, I just pushed this kid who got swim in the water. Now have sex with me. Like, I'm not sure what needs to be wrong with you to have that going through your mind, but that scene just cracked me up.
Well, I was impressed that despite all of this, he still managed to get some in the movie.
He did indeed. Not that his performance is particularly the best that you can hope for.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much the epitome of a talking sausage, I guess.
That's a phrase I've never heard of in my life.
Well,
I
neither have I. I just made it up.
Oh, okay. That would explain it. I'm not
Let's just say a bit of a meathead.
Yeah, I'm not too out of the loop then. But so that's actually another thing I sort of like about this movie. It's just, you know, we never learn a whole lot about most of these characters, but I do enjoy like some of the character interactions, especially how some of these kids aren't, you know, they try to treat Alfred's a bully kid. They try to treat Alfred with, you know, at least some decent respect. A guy named Dave who tries to treat him pretty nicely, and so I enjoy that there's a little bit of characterization here before all of them get killed. So, and also even some of like the nameless characters who you know, just appear in the background for a bit, such as some of the kids who were on the raft. Everybody has a distinct look to them, so it's sort of at least nice to follow the story such as it is.
Yeah. And just bringing up sort of a different subject here, because no one really talked about this for quite a while, and now we start seeing it mentioned here and there with everything that happened with Harvey Weinstein. And now people are pointing out, okay, you know, The Burning is really his movie. I mean, he wrote the movie, he created the movie, so, and you know, this is a guy who's gotten in a lot of trouble for, let's just say, mistreating a lot of young women in movies that he's involved with. So, and then you think about all the people who say, oh, well, you shouldn't watch Clown House because of Victor Salva. And I think it's the more and more time goes by, you start seeing all these other films that you enjoy that, you know, there's someone attached to it who, you know, is a terrible person. And I think it's just another argument to say, you know, it's just another way of helping the argument of saying, you know, you just got to separate, I guess, the art from the artist. I don't necessarily enjoy that phrase, but I guess that's basically what I'm saying, because you can see, like, you could say, like, earlier past this movie, there's a lot of scenes with, you know, young girls just jumping around, and I mean, there's even that shower scene.
It's a classic baseball game.
Yeah.
Hey, I like that scene.
The shower scene earlier on in the movie, who'd be surprised if that was actually a real reaction of her catching Harvey Weinstein checking her out in the shower, and they're like, perfect, we'll use that in the movie.
I'm hoping that's not how that scene came about.
Yeah, but in any case, just another reason to separate things like that from the movie itself.
Yeah, no, I don't speak to like a whole plethora of like horror movie people, so I've not seen like any outrage against, oh my god, you can't watch The Burning. Obviously, I think everybody's seen that type of reaction toward Jeepers Creepers, so I'm hoping it doesn't get to the point where the same reaction is going on with this movie, because, you know, like I said, it's not a particularly fantastic slasher movie, but it's still a pretty decent one, and I don't think there's any great reason to not watch it just because of some of the actions of the people behind it. Like, I don't think that devalues the movie or the story to me. So, you know, that's just my take.
You know, the problem with people is they pick and choose what to be outraged by. I mean, and I think more people are outraged by Clown House just because it's just not loved as much as The Burning is. So, and I mean, me personally, I actually slightly prefer Clown House over this, but they're both decent.
I will concur. Clown House. I forget what rating I gave it, but I gave it a pretty good rating because that was actually a pretty decent movie for what it was.
Mm.
But The Burning itself is also a beautiful movie, and like I said, it's a slasher that came out during like the heyday of the slasher movies, just a year after the first Friday the 13th, and great special effects when they pop up. You know, I enjoy quite a bit about the movie, the characters, basic camp story. So this is a movie I don't think it's amazing, but like I said, I enjoy. So I'm going to throw this one a 7.5 out of 10. And I think, at least for the time being, I'll probably round it down to a 7 out of 10. But that's one that could go either way because I do enjoy this movie.
Well, we're in agreement with a lot of movies on today's show, aside from The Birds.
And that disagreement was like 5 Fs.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to also give this one a 7. Yeah, it's a classic 80s slasher, at least for slasher fans. So, I mean, I personally don't see it as anything like a special movie or anything, but yeah, I mean, if you're into, your Friday the 13th or your earlier Friday the 13th films, feels like it's got like similar vibe to like Part 2, I guess, or Sleepaway Camp, the original Sleepaway Camp, the movies like that. And I enjoy those about the same as I enjoyed this, so there you go. But one other thing that I will just mention is the music in this movie, also quite an enjoyable part to the film.
Yeah, I was actually surprised, because it's been a little while since I've seen this. I actually have it on DVD, and I haven't watched the DVD copy I have until now. So, but I was surprised by how decent I found most of the music to be, because most of the times I don't necessarily notice it in movies, but here I started playing like, oh hey, that's actually not too bad.
Oh, and I once again, whenever I see someone in a movie, I'm like, geez, I've seen that person before. And I was thinking of the blonde camp counselor, or whatever her position is at this camp. I was like, I've seen her before, and I noticed she's the American reporter in Bloodsport, the one that Van Damme has sex with. So her career went on the up after this.
If you were to call that on the up.
Yeah, well, she got to see Van Damme naked, so his ass.
and you say I'm the guy who likes male genitalia.
Hey, I didn't say I liked it. I'm saying she got to see it. Therefore, well, yeah, okay. I'll admit he's got a tight ass.
There you go.